Hey guys, it's Phil here from the Next72Hours. I'm out and about today in the garden doing a review of the S.O.L Escape Bivvy bag system. S.O.L stands for Survive Outdoors Longer, and this is produced by Adventure Medical Kits. Okay, so the S.O.L Escape Bivvy is the premier bivvy bag in their system. They've got three different bivvy bags. One is also this sort of colour, slightly less weather resistant or slightly less life resistant. The second one is more what you'd expect to see from those survival sleeping bags. It's just a mylar style blanket or sleeping bag, and this one here is the Escape Bivvy. It has a windproof and water resistant outer shell, and it's also made of a breathable fabric. As well as the inside here, it's also got that mylar reflective silver lining, so it's very comprehensive. It weighs in at around about 236 grams or 8.4 ounces, and just for comparison here, it's not much bigger than a pair of winter hiking socks. So size wise it's a pretty good size. It's nice and light. Actually, these two pairs of socks here together weigh roughly the same as this bag. So 236 grams approximately. Not much in it at all. Okay, so there's really no excuse not to be carrying this with you, whether you're going on a day hike, or you're going on an overnight hike, or you're going on a week hike. Whatever you're doing, it doesn't take up much space. It's semi-flexible, and it can be stuck into one of those small crevices of your bag for peace of mind. So it comes folded up nicely in this sack. I've actually used it a few times, as well as Matthew's done his review on it, and so I've just stuffed it back in here. For those people that ask, is it easy to put back in the pack? Absolutely. You'll see that in the video coming up shortly. You can just either fold it up nicely and put it back in, or you can stuff it in like this, and when you need it, pull it out, shake it out, and it's ready to go. You can see here the colour is a nice bright safety orange, so it can be used not only to keep you safe and warm overnight or in a survival situation, but also for rescuing or for signalling for rescue, which you'll see a little bit later on in one of my little videos. It has a quarter length zip down the side of it here, allowing for easy access. I guess potentially you could undo this if you're feeling a bit hot in the bag to let some of that heat out. And it has a nice drawstring hood, which is important to cover as much of your body as possible and limit the amount of cold air that can get in here, and therefore keeping you warmer. But you'll see all of that in the video as well. Inside, like I said, it's got your standard mylar type material, which is used to reflect the heat back into the body and keep that core temperature warm. It's ultimately probably what you're going to be using this for. Hey guys, this is just a quick look at the hammock setup that I had last night where I slept. This is where I did the review of the S.O.L Survive Outdoors Longer Escape Bivvy bag sent to us by Extac Australia. So you can see it was strung up between two trees, and it was in Matthew's front garden there, so in direct view of the street there. And I spent the night in that along with the bivvy bag and nothing else, just to test to see how well it worked. So you'll see some videos coming up of the temperature differences and some other videos. Alright, so here's the S.O.L Escape Bivvy bag set up in the inside this hammock. You'll see on the inside it's got a reflective silver foil, much like a survival blanket or space blanket as some people like to call them. On the outside it's got that breathable and water resistant windproof shell, so that's going to stop the wind from cutting through the shell, which is going to be a massive loss of temperature from the body. And you know, that's ideally what you're attempting to do here. You know, if you look at this, it's quite thin. It's obviously not going to provide a huge amount of warmth, but it is often the escaping of body temperature through exposure to cold and winds. The wind's really going to sap you of your heat very, very quickly. Again, this is water resistant, so it's going to stop a percentage of the rain or water from getting onto you. It's going to provide you a more comfortable night if you are using this for its intended purpose, i.e. an escape bivvy or a survival bivvy. Chances are you're not going to have a great night anyway, but this is going to make your night a whole lot more comfortable. So we're going to hop on it and see if we can't get some kit, because it's already almost midnight now. Alright, so we're just having a look at the outside temperature now, just about to hit the sack, and according to the thermometer it is sitting on 12 degrees Celsius there. So we've got one temperature guide outside here, or thermometer, and then in the hammock here we've got another one set up, and this one is reading, pretty hard to do one-handed, alright, this is going to be pretty hard to read, but this one's actually reading 13 degrees inside the hammock, so 12 outside and 13 inside, so we've got a temperature difference of 1 degree. Okay, so in the hammock. Alright guys, so I tried to get a good reading of the air temperature inside this hammock at the moment. This was sitting at the top of the hammock up here. You're not going to be able to see that anyway. Right now it is reading approximately 16 degrees Celsius. So what I'm going to do is hold it for a couple of minutes inside this bag without letting it touch my body. I've also got my fingers on this protective piece of rubber here, so it's away from the bulb at the bottom, so hopefully that's not going to sort of influence the temperature there too much. You can see it's dropping between 16 and 15 degrees there, 15 and a half, and we'll see if there's a massive temperature difference inside this bag, which is what we're going for. You know, ultimately it's for protection against the elements on the outside, but also with the reflective silver lining there, we should be getting some form of heat retention inside that bag. So we'll try it out, and then I'll bring this out and see what it looks like. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the thermometer out of the bag there. It's been sitting in between that air pocket between the top of my gut and the top of this bag, so it hasn't been touching my body, and it's been in there for about 3 or 4 minutes. And we'll see if there's a temperature difference, noticeable difference between the top of the inside of the bag and outside of the bag. So before we saw that it was between 15.5 and 16 degrees inside this hammock, and we're just going to sort of, it's hard to do one-handed. I can tell you straight off that I feel that there's a huge difference just from putting my hand out into this temperature, and there is. You can see that. You'll see that that is sitting on 22 degrees, 23 degrees Celsius, and you'll see as we're taking this video that it's actually dropping down there actually quite rapidly. We're already down to 22 degrees. You'll see that it's not touching anything, but we're almost down to 21 degrees. So there's quite a considerable temperature difference between the inside of this bag and the outside, which is ultimately what we're trying to achieve there. We're trying to achieve retention and heat bouncing back off the silver foiled inner there, and retaining that heat and keeping that in your core of your body, and that's what survival's all going to be about. Avoiding hypothermia there. You see it's dropped just under 20 degrees now, and the mercury is still decreasing, so to speak. So also when I put my hand in there to keep the thermometer in there, I noticed a huge amount of difference. Now I've put my hand out into the open air. It's quite chilly. So I think what you're going to really want to be doing when you're using a bag like this is to get as much of your body inside it, including your arms. Use the drawstring and shut it up nice and tight so that you're losing as little heat as possible. Obviously having a hat on would be fantastic because you lose a lot of heat through your head. And I can feel the cold coming through the bag here because it's not it's not attached to anything else. There's nothing underneath me, just the bottom of this hammock here, and I can feel the cold air coming through. As you'll see, this is still dropping quite rapidly there. We're down to 18 degrees. I might stop the camera here at the moment, for the moment, and just see what it gets down to in the next couple of minutes, and come back to you before I head off to sleep again. Alright, so what we've done is, just before I go to bed here, I've taken the thermometer back out of the bag. Well, it's been out of the bag for a couple of minutes now since having been inside that S.O.L Bivvy bag. We saw the temperature got up to around about 23.5 degrees inside the bag, and as you can see here, this thermometer is showing around about 15.5, 16 degrees again. So it's got back down to what it was prior to being inside the bivvy bag, which means that you can see that the bag's doing what it promises to do, and that is keep some of that core temperature in, protect you from the elements, which in this case would be the cold and the wind, and keep you warm so that you've got a better chance of surviving until either you make it through to the next day and you can walk yourself out of the situation, or until search and rescue turns up and they can get you out of whatever predicament you've found yourself in. So that's a really positive sign. What we'll do is we'll turn off the camera now. I'm going to sleep, and we'll check it again in the morning and do a bit of an update then to see what it was like and if there were any differences overnight. Alright guys, it's frickin' 4:30 in the morning. The temperature outside is 10 degrees, and that has to be the most uncomfortable sleep I've had in my life, not because of the S.O.L Bivvy bag, but the hammock itself. It's bloody killing me, so I'm going to call it quits at 4:30 in the morning and go back inside. It's just not worth sleeping in that hammock for me. I'm finding it far too uncomfortable, and I think we've proven the point about the bag at the moment. I'm just going to go and grab the thermometer which is sitting inside the bag that I've been in, and just see what sort of temperatures we're looking at, difference between the outside and inside of the bag. The temperature on the inside was showing roughly about the same 10 degrees. This one's just showing almost and we'll see what temperature that's reading now. Alright guys, so this is the temperature of the thermometer sitting inside the bag where I've been sleeping. It's still reading about 19 degrees, bearing in mind that cold air is now rushing into the bivvy bag. So a temperature difference of roughly about 9 to 10 degrees there, outside and inside of the bag, which is what we wanted to see really, because it's all about retaining that heat, that reflective heat that we've got, and keeping it inside the bag instead of letting it out. Also, you know, there was no sweating inside of this bag, which you might have found in a standard mylar or survival blanket, which means that it's also breathing, which the product claims to be able to do, and I certainly would be one to know about that, because I do sleep very warmly, so yeah, I felt that I wasn't sweating up or warming up too much at all in this bag here. So I'm going to call it quits here and go inside and get some sleep on a proper bed, and finish off the review in the morning about this bag here. Thanks. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm just grabbing out the bivvy bag in the daylight, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to just roll it out. It's really nothing to it. You grab it out of the pack, shake it about there, and it's as easy as that. I'm lying it out on top of a sleep mat at the moment, and you'll see here there's a 1/4 length or 1/3 length zip down the side here for easy access. I'm going to unzip that, and then I'm going to hop into it with my boots on and all. Your feet and your head are where you're going to lose a lot of your heat, so you could potentially keep your shoes on. If this was a survival situation, you're not going to worry about getting it dirty or messy. The aim is to survive there, so simple as that. I'm going to zip it back up to the side here, and then pull the drawstring closed. keeping in as much heat as possible. I'm going to try and move my way across here so you can see. You've got that drawstring. It wasn't sitting very well at that point, but you can just pull that tight. And that's it. Here I'm going to try and move it and get out of it, and we'll go on and we'll see. Alright, so packing it up is really as simple as rolling it out was. You can either just stuff the sack, or you can do what I'm about to do, and that is fold it up neatly and then try and just slide it back into the bag. Either way will work. Here I fold it in half once, I'm going to fold it in half again. It's pretty inaccurate, it really doesn't matter. You'll find what way works best for you. But you know, it doesn't require any effort at all. You'll see as the bag's breathable, the air's just going out through the pores in the bag and it's rolling up quite nicely. No effort there at all. Get it to a reasonable shape and then slide it or stuff it back in the stuff sack there. Alright, there we go, so it's all done up. Pull the drawstring and it's pretty much as difficult as it gets there. Putting it back in the bag. Alright, so in this part of the video I'm just going to show you what I would suggest you do when you're using this bivvy bag. So if you didn't have a hammock, for example, you're out hiking, you're in an emergency situation and you're not severely injured, you can do it like this. I've got my sleeping mat out of the pack, I put it there, that's going to insulate me against the cold ground. I've got the bivvy bag out of the pack, and here you see I've got the 406 MHz GPS beacon, which I highly recommend anyone carry when they're out and about in the woods or doing any sort of outdoor activity or dangerous activity. Obviously I haven't pushed the button, but I'm showing here that I've set the beacon off, and now I can put the bivvy bag out and await rescue. So keeping your pack close to you, shaking the bag out. This time I'm going to take my boots off. Doesn't really matter. This is exactly what I would be doing if I was in a survival situation. I'd be seeking shelter. I've got shelter under the palm tree above me there. It's going to give me a bit of shelter from any bad weather, if this was all I could find, of course. Otherwise it might be a matter of building some shelter. Here I'm sitting down on the mat. Just going to adjust it. Zip it back up there. There we go. Bringing the top of the bag over my head. Drawing the string down to keep as much heat in as possible. And getting those feet on the bottom of the mat as well, so that you're keeping off the cold ground, which is going to conduct a lot of heat away from you and defeat the purpose of the bag. So there we go, and then pretty much be waiting on rescue from there. Alright, so this is a second variation of the video here. We've got the same palm tree, this is just from a different angle. And this is what I would do if I didn't have a sleeping mat on me, for example. In a survival situation, again, I can't stress that the bag's very thin. It does the job very well, but it's also very thin, and it is going to conduct a lot of heat away from you if you're sitting directly onto the cold ground. So in this case, I'm grabbing the things out of my pack. Same difference here. I've got the beacon. I've undone that, set that off, and hopefully my rescuers will be on their way. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my pack to keep myself directly off that cold ground. So again, in this video I'm taking my shoes off, my boots off. It doesn't really matter if you do or don't. Probably going to last longer if you do, but you've got to consider the heat factor as well. There we go, so zipping the bag up. putting it over my head. You can't see that on the screen. Lifting it up so that hood's nice and tight over the head, and sitting down on that pack. So that's giving me a huge amount of insulation from the ground there. That pack's nice and thick. Zipping it up or tying it up as tight as possible so that I get the least amount of cold air coming in and the least amount of my heat going out. And again, sitting there waiting for rescue, or waiting for someone to come and find me. Now, assuming of course you can hear that rescue is coming, or you can hear someone searching for you, for a helicopter for example, or bushwalkers, what you can do there is you're going to get out of that, you're going to grab your boots back on, or maybe you're not, depends on how much of a hurry it is. You're going to get out there, and then you can use this bag here for signalling. It's a nice bright orange colour, it's going to stand out against the foliage of the forest, and there you go, you're going to run out. And you're going to kind of create motion with it so that it can be seen, so it's distracting to the eye, that it's going to look totally out of place, for example in this green forest. And so that's another use for the bag there for signalling, hence the reason it's that nice bright colour. Alright, so I just wanted to make a couple of points about this system. I've had a look at the Adventure Medical Kits and S.O.L websites and the videos that they produced about this Bivvy bag. And I thought personally that the website was a bit misleading, and I want to explain why. Having tested this out, I can say it is a great piece of equipment, and certainly something that people should consider carrying with them anywhere they go on any of their hikes or outdoor pursuits. It's fairly relatively lowly priced. It's around about $60, $60.45 I believe, inclusive of GST here in Australia on the Extac website, which is a decent price because this item is multiple use, so it's not a one use thing and throw it away. So if you treat it nicely and you treat it well, you're going to be using it time and time again if need be, or if you only need it for that one time and it keeps you alive, then it's well worth the investment of the $60-something for it. But what I wanted to say about the website says that you can use this as a secondary or as your primary sleep system in warmer temperatures, or basically they have a rating system. They say that this is good for down to around about 10 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees Celsius plus your clothes, and you're going to feel pretty toasty in this. If you were to add on a light down jacket and maybe a hat, you could bring it down to around about 4.5 degrees Celsius, but still remaining comfortable. And they say if you put on a thicker duck jacket, a winter down jacket, and maybe some long johns or polypro leggings or something like that, thermal underwear, you could bring it down to around about a -1, -2 degrees and still remain comfortable. Now in the video you'll see I tried this out on a typical Brisbane night here. It got down to around about 10 degrees Celsius, and with the sleep system, the temperature coming from the ground or underneath the bivvy bag was very, very cold, and it made for an extremely uncomfortable night. In the video you see the lady, she's all very pretty and everything like that, as you would expect for an advertising thing, but she just basically lies down on the floor inside the bag and goes to sleep with nothing between her and the bag. So right now I'm sitting outside in the garden, like I said. I've got a mat here underneath my body to insulate me from the ground. Although it's a warm day here, it has been raining and the ground is still quite cold, so you need to insulate yourself from that, otherwise it's going to drain some of that heat away from your body. In some of the videos you'll see that I've got a sleeping mat system, and I put that mat between myself and the ground, and when I slept over in the bivvy bag and I combined that with a hammock, you didn't use anything underneath it, and there was a lot of cold, and while the bag does its job and it's very warm, it keeps the warmth in your body, you do feel that cold coming from underneath you, and it makes for a very uncomfortable sleep. So while you could do it without something between yourself and the bag, I would suggest if you were taking this hiking and you were going to use it as your primary sleep system, which is another use for this apart from its survival use, then I would suggest you use something to insulate yourself between the ground and the product. Likewise, if you're using this in a survival situation, like you see I've done a couple of videos today, I've come out here, I didn't have a sleeping mat in one of them. I've got my backpack on my back, and I've used that to insulate myself. I sit on that and huddle myself up with this around me, waiting for help. In the video you'll see I used my 406 GPS beacon, set that off. You know, this is a very realistic option, or realistic idea of what might happen, why you might need to use this. You've got into trouble, you've got lost, disorientated, no idea where you are, set off your beacon, you're cold, you're hungry, you rip out your bivvy bag here, find yourself a nice place, sheltered, get in the bag and wait for help. Simple as that. It's always best, if you can, if you're in a survival situation or you need to be rescued, to stay put, you know, stay put so people can find you. Again, that comes back to putting in intention forms and letting people know where you're going. That's always going to give you the greatest chance of survival. So I do see this as being a very, very good tool in the survival series, or for your preparations for hiking or anything like that. In the video you'll see that there was a marked temperature difference between the outside air and the inside temperature of the bag. Now I measured that in the gap between the top of my gut and the top of the bag, so that free space there, and held it, held the thermometer with the plastic attachment point, so that my hand temperature didn't affect the reading that we got. And there's a marked difference of around about 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. So that there proves the point of exactly what the sleeping system is for, this bivvy bag, and that is to keep that core temperature inside the bag and give you the best chance of survival overnight. From my experience, it may not be a comfortable night, that's for sure. If it's a survival situation, you're waiting for rescue, you're probably not going to get any sleep at all. But this is going to protect you from the elements. It is windproof, it is water resistant, and it is breathable. So you're stopping any condensation forming inside and wicking away any temperature from your body. You're stopping that wind coming through, which is going to really suck the energy and suck the heat out of you. And you're stopping any rain coming through in there, which is also going to all combine to make you lose that core body temperature quicker, go into hypothermia, and potentially die. So it passed all the tests. I think it's a great piece of kit. It's very well priced. It has multiple uses. It can be a sleep system, it can be a survival bag, or it could be a signalling device if you need help. I'm sure there's other things that people can think of to do with it. So we'll flick over to videos now. I'd like to thank Adrian from Extac for providing this for us to do a review on. It certainly is a good piece of gear. Matthew's review's up as well if you want to check it out. But the last thing I will say, and I'll just repeat this, if you are going to use it in a survival situation and you don't have a sleeping mat or something like that, try and find something that you can insulate between yourself and the ground. And that's going to help you have a much more comfortable sleep, if you get any sleep at all. Certainly if you're not using anything between the bag and the ground, you're probably going to find it very difficult to get sleep. And as well, if you're going to be using it for your primary sleeping system, I think you should consider having something like a sleeping mat that would go between your body and the bag, especially if you're going to be out there in colder temperatures. Right, so one last thing I wanted to do here is do a quick comparison of my current bivvy bag setup and this S.O.L Escape Bivvy. So on the left hand side here is the S.O.L Escape Bivvy. It weighs in at around about 236 grams, and on the right hand side here is my Gore-Tex bivvy bag, made for the outdoors, alpine climbing, harsh weather conditions. And you'll see that there's quite a sizable difference between the two. In fact, this is probably 2.5 to 3 times the size. It weighs in at, well, 4-5 times the weight, and if you look at that, it's quite considerably bigger as well. So you can see why people carrying traditional bivvy bag systems might be a bit concerned about carrying this on a day hike, just because of its weight and size. Whereas if you look at the size of this and the weight, which is almost negligible, like I said, about the weight of 2 pairs of socks here, there's no reason why you wouldn't be carrying this. It's convenient, it can save your life, and it's very decently priced for a bivvy bag setup system. So that was just a little quick comparison there for you.